Three visionaries, Dr. Nneka Chukwu, Dr. Margaret Obilor, and Dr. Angela Ikeme, authors and pace-setters, came together and wrote a powerful and long-anticipated book, Voices of Triumph, Stories of African Women Immigrants in America. This book highlights African cultural heritage, the delicate balancing act of work-life expectations, especially for women navigating corporate America while upholding strong cultural roots.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our May episode of Voices of Triumph on the Road. We're delighted that you could join us this afternoon. We're coming to you live from the beautiful city of Morgan Hill, California. I am Dr. Nneka Chukwu, and with me, as always, are my sisters.
Hello, everyone. Dr. Ngozi Obilor. Nice to be here again today.
Hello, this is Dr. Angela Ikeme. So pleased to be here today, especially this month of May, to talk about mental health. Thank you.
Absolutely. And today we have a very special guest in our midst. We have Reverend Dr. James Okafor, who is currently the pastor of St. Francis Cabrini Church here in San Jose, California. He's also the chaplain of the Nigerian Igbo Catholic community of San Jose. Father, we are delighted to have you here with us. Father got his master's degree through Santa Clara University and his doctoral degree in Catholic education from University of San Francisco, and has done a lot of work for the community here. So, Father, thank you so much for all you do and for making the time to be with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. What a great pleasure for me to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, before we delve into the conversation, we want to talk a little bit. So, last year you received an award from the Silicon Valley African Film Festival, the Ubuntu Award. That's such a noble award, highlighting or signifying the amazing work that you're doing for the community. Can you tell us a little bit about that award and what it means to you?
Well, the award is all about the community service. And as I spoke on the day the award was given to me, so awards were given to me because of all the things that I've done for the community. And I believe the community has also supported me in different ways. Without their support, I wouldn't have been able to do what I have done through the years. So I dedicated that award to the community that I've been serving, which is the Nigerian community and the African community in a bigger way. So I see it as a recognition also, but a call to do more and to use my gift for the good of the community.
Absolutely. So, to whom more is given, more is expected. Okay, great.
You know, Father, you have been a mentor, a counselor, everything for our Nigerian Igbo Catholic community. The youths look up to you. We, the parents, call you in times of need when we are struggling with issues, especially with younger ones. And May being the mental health month, we Nigerian communities, we shy away from mental health. We don't talk about it. It's a taboo. We don't even acknowledge that there is anything like that in our lives. So,
But before,
yeah.
actually, before you get into the first question, we're doing something a little different for this particular episode, and Dr. Margaret here is not joining us as a team member. She will be a part of the conversation because of her background in mental health. And although we know her to some extent, Dr. Margaret, can you tell our fans out there a little bit about, that side of you that they haven't seen?
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Nneka and my sisters. It's a pleasure to be here on a different level today. And so I am Margaret Obilor, and I currently work at the County of Santa Clara as one of the behavioral health directors there, managing several outpatient-related services. My journey started quite a while back as well, and I have actually, I think it'd be good for folks to read our book to understand a little bit more where my journey came from. But I would say that I have 30 years or more in the mental health field and have gone from being a case manager all the way to where I am right now, and have worked in different settings as well. So I bring a lot of expertise in terms of how I see mental health, and have done a lot of work both in private practice as well as in community work around individuals who are suffering from mental health, as well as immigrants and other cultural diverse communities.
Okay, now, Dr. Ngozi, Dr. Margaret, I don't know which one I will be addressing you, vice versa. So the whole month of May is dedicated to mental health. And as I was saying earlier, speaking to Father about our culture, our Nigerian culture, how it is a taboo to discuss mental health. We don't even acknowledge it, that it's a problem. But living in this country now, knowing what is going through and even seeing some behaviors both in us, the adults, and our children, it becomes even more important to talk about it. And we are so grateful to have people like you within our community. And of course, Father James, who has been a cornerstone for helping us navigate, even though as a priest, from a spiritual point, navigating this whole mental health issue and being a big advocate for it. So, my question to both of you, and Father, will start with you. Despite the critical need to address mental health challenges, many people still shy away from the conversation due to stigma, often rooted in cultural beliefs. How can we ensure that the conversations about mental health move to the forefront of our homes and communities and receive attention that it truly deserves?
Well, the first thing we're doing is what we're doing here. By doing this podcast and remembering the month of May for mental health will help to create the awareness. I think the first thing to understand is that just like we are made up of body, mind, and spirit, that's what makes us whole. Each of them cannot be separated from the other. Where one is suffering, the other one is also suffering. So the mental health is not something that we can run away. So what I will advocate and encourage communities to do is to continue to create awareness. And it happens too that in my own community, as a pastor of a parish, we have also found the need. I have a parish that has church and also school. And now and then I'm being invited to come and talk to students about what is going on. Most times I discover that actually it's not something I can do, that it needs some experts to see that student. And so right now in my parish, we are beginning a mental health ministry. So, and the hope is that we're going to launch it in April. So the mental health month, which is May, will be a good time also to create more awareness. So I'm not going to be the one that will lead this ministry because I don't have the expertise to do that. But I'm creating a space whereby the community can freely and the families can also come up and speak about these mental challenges. And then we can also do referral to somebody that can help them.
That's amazing, for the church to start diving in because it's becoming an epidemic. And thank you for, we look forward to see how St. Francis of Cabrini will do this. Hopefully, other parishes and communities within St. Clara County and diocese would adopt. Dr. Ngozi, you've been in mental health all your life. You're a
All
big
her life it did.
you are a big advocate. You work for a county that has the biggest mental health department, and you are up there navigating it, creating spaces, houses, and all that. How would we bring? I know last year you spoke to Nurses Lunch and Learn on mental health, but I wish that conversation will continue on year round. How do we bring this whole mental health issue to the forefront of our homes and our communities without shying away?
Yeah, I think Father mentioned one piece of it, which is creating that awareness. The second piece is we do have to intentionally create the space. It's important for us to be able to remove the social stigma that comes with mental health, right? Because the society sees mental health as someone who's broken, right? Someone who has some issues going on. and they have a negative attitude towards mental health. And if we don't create the space where folks feel comfortable and not be afraid to address what's going on with them, then we wouldn't be able to bring it in the forefront. So the whole idea of that awareness, I'm glad it's starting from from your church. We need to do it in the schools. We've opened up a whole lot of activities. Having school counselors is not even enough. Now we have mental health programs being offered on site in some of those schools. Our faith-based communities are big ones, having more of those conversation learning that addresses those issues. And also the other piece is at work, right? Because we are in the high-tech area here where folks do not address or talk a lot about mental health. So also the employee assistance programs, a lot of people shy away from those, but those are also a good place for you to go out and reach out to people. So it's important that we are intentional and we are not judgmental about mental health. And when someone comes out to tell us about that.
Oh, wow. Wow. We are so excited to have you both talk about this very important topic, but especially for you, Father James, because we understand there's an intersection between our faith and our mental health. And you talked about it earlier when you said, being a whole person involves the spiritual, the physical, and all of it, right? We can't separate the two. So thinking about that, there are people who feel that it has to be one or the other, right? And so when it comes to their faith, if I acknowledge that I have mental health challenges, it could be perceived as I don't have enough faith, right? So how would you help us reshape that thing or have a mental shift from that type of mindset, right? Because having mental health challenges does not equate to not having faith.
Well, faith, all as we know, is trust in God. And when we trust in God, it doesn't mean that we are superhumans. We're still human beings, and we can still face the weakness life gives to us. So when we talk about mental health, just like physical health or spiritual health, they don't in any way compete with our faith. They complement each other. Our faith comes in when we have faith, mental health challenges. And faith can also help us when we are struggling mentally. But also, the faith does not answer every question about the mental situations. And that is why we have to know where our faith stops and where we can get in to get the expertise that can help us to analyze, understand, and see the best approach for mental illness. And so what I would say from that, it goes back to where we started, creating an awareness, creating the space whereby we explain to people, yes, you are a faithful person, but also you are a human being. Just like you face physical challenges, spiritual challenges, you can also face mental challenges. And you have to own it and be open to accept help that will be given to you. Yeah.
I was just going to add to what Father said, and that's really the piece around the fact that the mental health is our emotional part. We don't have control over that part of our emotion, right? And so the faith is a spiritual part where we have trust in God, our hope, our strength, and all of that. But when it comes to mental health, it's more of your emotional strength, right? So you have both the biological piece playing into it as well as that physical piece. And like Father said, the both can work together. They should be working together because you have the faith, and then you have the faith, and then you go to treatment of your mental health to get better, right? So two of them are complementary and are not separate.
And I think this part of it you spoke last is where majority of us, especially from our community, are struggling with going for that treatment, acknowledging that there is a problem that needs to be addressed. So I know we can ask this question many times, but I don't know if we can get the right answer. How do we encourage our people to, first of all, know that there is an issue? And we live in a society where there are all kinds of treatment options and services. please go and get treatment. How do we say it in a way that people will understand it without feeling that stigma that's usually attached to mental health?
The stigma goes for different cultures. So there's also that cultural piece about it. It's so deep in how we view mental health that even I remember in the past when your child is getting married in our culture, they have to go back and find out, do they have mental health issues? And if they did, that they would say no, they won't marry into that family. So I think it's again, it's these little conversations we're having, right? The schools have been also very good at bringing this out, because now the schools can see a child not doing well and try to engage the family in that. One other thing that has helped is NAMI, yeah, which is the National Association of Mental Illness. It's for the parents. And what we've been doing a lot is referring a lot of the parents, especially immigrant parents, to that place because then they can talk to them a little bit more. There's all these trainings that are coming up. But like you said, it takes us in the faith communities really coming out to talk about it, right? It takes us in these spaces that we're at to come out and talk about it. And gradually, people will hear it. The good thing is even the primary cares now, you can reach out to your doctor. You don't need to go to a mental health. We're all trying to not even put signs that say you're coming to a mental health. We're integrating mental health into the regular outpatient and health practices so that we're trying to remove all that stigma. We can't really do away with it, but I think the continued education, the creating that awareness will continue to help build it. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, and I think also part of Father mentioned it earlier, like what we're doing right now is part of it. But when you talk about schools, and that's what the reason we have Father here, and we're thankful that you were able to join us. But this is the part of it also that where we believe there's an opportunity, for our spiritual leaders also to help with this movement and in creating the awareness and acknowledging, yes, like you said. Yes, you're a faith-based person, but you are also a human being. Those should not be separated. So I'm so thankful for the work that you guys are doing.
Awesome. And for our community, we feel our Nigerian community here in the Bay Area, we have everything. So take advantage of it. So it again goes back into, we come to you for emotional support and psychological distress. As a clergy, you hear everything, you see everything and all that. How can you balance offering spiritual guidance while at the same time recognizing the appropriate when it is appropriate to refer someone to a therapist or professional care?
Well, the first thing I do is to create a space where people can talk to me and trust that I can handle their information very well. So I develop that skill myself of listening, whether the person comes in a private section like confession or the person comes just for a normal meeting. I take time to listen, I take time to discern and know this is where I can help, this is where I cannot help. And then also I have to be truthful to myself to know my limitation. This is not the area of my expertise. I have to make a referral for the good of that person. Sometimes, I've witnessed that with families, especially school families. You keep talking to the parents and say, this kid needs more help. I cannot offer the help. I have an incident yesterday that I was called, oh, come to the office. I say, no, call the parents. I've talked with this kid before. I think the parents, they need to take him to somewhere for somebody to give a proper assessment, because at that point in time, it's no more spiritual help that I can give. It has to be therapy, counseling that can help that kid. And so what I tell other clergy and I tell myself all the time, know your limitation. Nobody knows it all. Know when to stop and ask for help. Even though you are asking for help, not for yourself, but for someone, you are also asking for that help that will be very helpful to that person. So that's what I will always encourage people to do.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Father said also, that it's important not just for Father. I'm glad, you have that attention and listening piece that goes with your work. But then we also have pastors and some of the other people who folks reach out to. And it's really important to know that when someone is no longer functioning very well, right? If they're talking to you and they're telling you they're suicidal, they want to harm somebody, they're not taking care of themselves, you should know that's your limit, right? That's when a professional really needs to be in that.
Yeah. And we are mandatory reporters.
Yes.
When it comes to that, there is no way holding that person in confidence saying this is confidential, because now it's question of life and death. You have to make a report right away. So
Absolutely. And I guess the important message there is knowing the limit, knowing when to say, okay, I need you to go to a professional for help. Wonderful. Wow. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to move things a little bit. Let's get with Dr. Ngozi, and in your professional space, what patterns or concerns do you commonly see when it comes to mental health in immigrant community or immigrant families? What common challenges do you see, and what would you recommend? Because it is such it's such a problem in our community because we grew up in a culture where it's almost a taboo to say you have mental health challenges. I mean, nobody says that, right? And fast forward, we've migrated to the United States. We're here. We're starting to see, yes, this is a problem. When you have diabetes, as a diagnosis, you go see a specialist. You're on insulin or other medications, hypertension, and the same. But it's not that for mental health. So for our immigrant community, what do you see, and what are your recommendations on how we continue this conversation to get us where we need to be?
Yeah, so for immigrant communities, I think we've been saying it here in several different conversations that there's that fear that really comes with them coming into this country in the first place, right? There's that acculturation issues, trying to understand where you are, learning the language, knowing all of that piece, and sometimes when they come in with children, the children get more acculturated, they're able to fit into the schools and all of that. And so they're not having, the children may sometimes suffer with the identity conflicts, but they're doing okay eventually, but the parents are struggling because they may not speak the language. And sometimes it also depends on their immigration journey, right? And today, you all know what's going on in the country with immigration. So this has exacerbated even worse now where people are not coming out. Some cultures are very silent as well. But what comes out that I really want to, two of you also who are in the medical professions and nurses, to realize is most of the immigrants do not come out and tell you I have a mental health. In some cultures, there's no language for mental health either, but they come out with physical symptoms. So they'll come out and say, I have a headache. My headache's not going away. Or my stomach is hurting, or my body hurts, or I feel tired. So they relay a lot of their mental health issues more in the physical space, and they will come to a physician first before they come to mental health. So it's being able to ask more questions as to, okay, how often is this going on? Are you able to sleep? Because things like anxiety, things like depression come in those formats. They start out with those physical symptoms. And so that's what they're experiencing. They don't know how to convert it more to the emotions because we're not taught to talk about our emotions either, right? There are places where you don't even acknowledge when someone says, you look nice today, So it's really trying to help those the immigrants understand that they're not the only ones who are suffering and they don't need to suffer in silence. Again, it's really creating the space, not just on because a lot of immigrants look for their community. So in whatever community we have, and we have several different culturally based behavioral health programs as well that they can tap into. And we'll talk about that later when we talk a little more about resources that are available.
So I'm sorry, I just want to take you back a little because you said something that's very important. The role that our primary care providers play in helping to identify or rather connecting these symptoms to possible mental health challenges for people who are not able to say, hey, I have a mental health issue or challenge. So really there's a responsibility or an expectation on the part of our primary providers to recognize.
Yes, and the primary care, just to finish up, primary care have the ability to do a direct referral. See, so when they're seeing the symptoms, when they're hearing people talk, because that's the first place a lot of times the immigrants will go to, right? Because in some cultures, there are no mental health professionals per se, but they are physicians and they are, the pastors and all of that. So those are the places that they're going to go seek that help first. And for those people to know, even you nurses, to pick up those signs and symptoms, where you could say, oh, maybe this person does need that mental health. So yeah.
We both of us work for the same county, and I can, say that, wholeheartedly that this county of Santa Clara has done a beautiful job in integrating this piece of care, mental health into primary care, that it doesn't have to be tedious for your primary care physician or provider to send you to the other way in a more compassionate way, to destigmatize it, and they are doing beautiful job doing that. So proud to say this for this county and for all of you mental health within this county.
And
Now,
there's a second, sorry, there's a second part to that question for you, Father, in your role. And you were at Archbishop Meade High School for 9 whole years. Wow. Okay. Teaching high school students. I doff my
Father,
hat off
yes,
for
I
you
do too.
because
Oh my goodness.
They were good to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
it takes special skills.
Yeah.
We really applaud you for that. You were at Archbishop Meade for 9 years as a teacher, but also as a chaplain to the students, and now you're a pastor in a place where you also have oversight of a school. When we talk about mental health and amongst young people and children, what challenges do you see? Because often there's a notion that the young people don't go to their parents, openly to talk about the challenges they're experiencing. What is your experience, being around children and the youths?
Well, my experience is that children, they don't like to talk to strangers. And their parents can also be strangers to them. When their parents don't open up to them and make them feel welcome, make them feel that they're not going to judge them. So the big issue about children opening up, from my experience, is that they're always thinking either their parents will judge them or their parents will dismiss whatever they're going to say. So because of that, they shy away from confiding in their parents. But what we do, or what we did when I was at media and what we're still doing now, we try always to create the space whereby these children can come up and speak to us, and then we can communicate to the parents. And that becomes an opportunity for us now to tell the parents, look, your son or your daughter doesn't want to talk to you because of this. And that can bring changes to those parents, whereby they begin to ask themselves questions. Why is it that my own children, they don't trust me? So it goes back to we adults too. We have to accept that we are sometimes vulnerable too. And we have to acknowledge our own mental challenges, because sometimes we struggle and we don't open up to share with our children, this is what we're going through. And because we don't share with them, they're not going to have any courage to share with us when they are going through challenges. So it goes back again, what schools, especially the private schools what they did was to create that opportunity to make the kids to feel that this is a place where you can share whatever that is going on in your life, and nobody will judge you. and from there they will take it to another level. And right now in the elementary school, the school in my parish, we also do the same thing. We have counselors, and we direct counselors, and they will tell them to go to the classroom and create this relationship, because it's all about relationship. Once you have relationship, then the person can open up to share some of the struggles he or she will have in life. Yeah.
Yeah. And for us also as parents, you said something that really resonated with me, the vulnerability, of being parents in a whole different culture from where we grew up, right? We talk about the fact that we didn't get a playbook when we got here. And so there are still things that we are learning, but with that also comes burnout, right? Which I think may get into the reason why some parents, especially from immigrant communities, don't talk about it, right? I don't know that it's intentional, but really understanding what our children are saying and listening to folks like yourself, and really for the schools to create an opportunity to say, invite the parents back in to share what their children are experiencing and saying is important.
And this is a very good conversation going on. And for all the educators, the pastors, the priests, parents out there, this is really important that you listen to these students. I was so happy, listening to or reading Pope Leo's message, Lenten message, when he put listening. For the first time, I have seen somebody at that high level included listening in a speech. It means it's a lot. We have to listen in order to hear what our family members, our children, our students, or whoever is around us is saying, and then have the discernment, as Father said, to put it together and send that person to the right place for help. So this is a awesome
It's really,
conversation.
really
Thank you.
important.
Mm-hmm.
I do
Yeah.
agree,
Mm-hmm.
because the way our children will come to us about it, for that fear, like Father said about, not wanting them to judge them, they may come about it in a roundabout way, right? But it's us being able to pick up on what they're saying, right? Or not being too quick to fix it, because that's the other part. Before they tell you, you tell, oh, you just need to do this and do this. No, that's not what they want to hear, especially when they're older, in the 20s and all of that. They don't want to hear you trying to fix it for them. They just want you to hear the concerns they're having. And then, you also decide. The other piece that I would say with caution among our African communities as well as our cultural communities is they want privacy. We're sometimes very quick to go back and we tell the whole universe what's going on with them. Oh, my child just told me, can you believe this? And all of that. They want privacy. They don't want you to go back and expose that information, So the way you handle it, even if you heard from somebody else and they said, oh, your son, something looks like it's not okay, call them aside. Don't make it a dinner table discussion, because then you've just blown the whole privilege and idea of the person even opening up to you.
Could there be a flip side to that? Because I feel that in our communities, again in the immigrant communities or the Nigerian community at that, we are raised in a culture where certain things is hush hush,
Secret.
right?
Yeah,
It's hush
silence.
hush. And so a lot of us are dying in silence. How do you balance what you just said, right? Yes, we want to protect people's privacy, but we also want people to reach out. So how do we maintain balance?
So if you just remember, we were talking about the younger generation. But for the adults, yes, we can speak. Even if it's the younger, say your child told you something, you can seek information, right? And then come back and sit with your child with that information. But I think where we kind of run around, people are afraid that someone else, my neighbor is going to know now, and they're going to judge me. Remember, that's that stigma we're talking about. Because then you see them tomorrow and you're not going to see them as okay. Immediately you're judging, oh, look at them, they did this because they don't have a mental health, and all of that. So it's being able to keep that information when they reach out to you, which is one of the things as a professional in this field, you do have to be very, very confidential. You even if you see your neighbor's child at the clinic, you need to be confidential about it. Because the moment they hear outside, they're going to quickly believe you said it, and that's the end of them being able to even reach to you. So like you said, it's how you go about seeking that information and then keeping that information to yourself and using it for the betterment of everybody else.
Father, can you chime into this?
Yeah, but also it depends on who you talk to talk to your child.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you talking to the right person? Because you can talk to the wrong person who goes around to make the situation worse instead of helping out. So when we are asking for help, we have to ask for help from the right person. And we have to look out who is going to help my child and who is going to spread all these things about my child. And it becomes a problem, And we know, like we, the African or Nigerian community, we're close knitted, we meet ourselves. Yeah. So sometimes you share something with somebody, the person shares it with another person. Before you know it, the children who listen to our phone calls sometimes, even though we think they don't hear our language, but then when it comes to certain things, they pick one or two things and they can put them together. And before you know it, they're testing themselves. And once something like that happens, once you breach the trust your child has for you, that child will not be able to open up again. We also say the same thing to teachers. When you have students in your class, some of them are struggling. Don't use them as the center of your discussion during lunchtime, because that another teacher will talk to another teacher, and before you know it, that child will hear it from one of the students. So respect the privacy of every child, because they need that no matter the age. So we need to respect that. And then also coming back again, while we bring this back to our Catholic community, faith-based community, it goes back again, telling people this is real. That the fact that we deny that something does not exist does not mean that it does not exist. We have to call it a name. Say, this is real, this is happening. Let us look at your children, be close to them, and look at your own self. Because sometimes we are talking about children, but we ourselves, we need help. Because we need to take care of, as you said, mental health involves emotional part of our life. Sometimes we don't have control of it. Yeah, so
Depends on how
it's your yeah. So part of what I'm thinking of doing in my community, and thank you for inviting me now. And I didn't know before that May is the month of mental health. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back now. We're gonna create a good program for May in the month of May, both for school and for my parish, and that can help people to come out and talk about this more. I need to be knowledgeable about it. All of us, we need to be knowledgeable about this so that we can help people who come on our way. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Dr. Ngozi, this is a lot of information, and bringing you and Father James in this special edition we couldn't have brought two other better people who know how to navigate this from every aspect, spiritual and otherwise medical. Now we can spend the whole day here, but we don't have to. What are the resources out there that we can tell families, anyone who is struggling, to look out for or where to find? Yeah.
So there are so many resources, and Father James and I have been talking about those resources. I think the most important piece is the fact that folks can get help through their primary care, right? You don't need to walk into other places. But if you are really in a very urgent need and there's a lot of issues going on that you see the difference in the household, there's several urgent cares that you can take folks to as well. The very big part, which I know a lot of the youths and young professionals use a lot, is the 988. Right? It's the new number for more of suicide prevention, but then at the same time, it also deals with mental health or substance use issue. And the good thing with 988 is the fact that they actually go by your phone number, right? So if you're in the 4-8 area code, they link you to somebody very close to you within that 4-8 region. The same thing if you're in the 510 region, they reach out, so they use that to make sure that you have the quick connection and the quick place to access information. So then we do have a lot of culturally specific programs and clinics that offer these services. For instance, for the African and African ancestry, we have Ujima. And I think you've all met her before, Yvonne Maxwell. She is the executive director for Ujima and really supports African and of African descent. We also have Gardner, which focuses on the Latino folks, and we have Mekong and some of those other Asian American for Recovery services that focus on Asians and Asian Pacific Islander. So you have different types of cultural, if you feel like, and any of these places you can just walk in. That's the good thing about it, right? So you don't need to start discussing. If you're not sure, pick up a phone, call somebody, right? You don't need to suffer in silence because that's what's happening right now.
Absolutely.
Thank you. This is a great information.
Well, I like what you ended with. You don't need to suffer in silence. Usually, I say this and we sing with it when I was in the high school. I used to tell my kids, never ever suffer and die in silence. Always speak up, because speaking up can be the only thing that will save you at any point. So we don't have to suffer in silence. So thank you for emphasizing that. Yeah.
I have a question for both of you. What role do you think the community plays? Is there a benefit in belonging to communities? Because when we talk about suffering in silence, that can also come from not having a support system. So what role do you think a community plays in our mental well-being, psychological, emotional, etc.?
Well, by people coming together, just three of you coming together from Nigerian community and decided to do this. The community is already doing something. And we have to encourage people not to live in isolation. Most mental challenges, they come when people are by themselves. The more you interact with people, the more people observe how you behave, and they can ask you questions and begin to find a way to help you. And always tell people, never ever again neglect the importance of community. The community you participate in will be the community that will save you. And now we're talking about our own African community and talking about mental health. All of us here, myself, the priest, and all of you, the leaders of the community, we have to make effort to bring this into our community. Are we going to have some pushback? Yes, because of the cultural understanding and the rest of them. But we still have to do what we have to do because we know that this is needed at this time. So I encourage you, come up within our own community. How do we create awareness more and support our own people? Because eventually that's what community is all about, how we support each other. Yeah.
And like Father James said, community just play a role, right? Because as we are talking about this now and folks are knowing my background, they can reach out. I've had people reach out and say, my stepsister, sister, which is okay. Whichever way, at least you're coming out and you're talking about what you're experiencing or what your family member is experiencing. So it's okay. I don't need to know whether it's you. I don't need to know whether it's your family, right? Because, we know that stigma is there. And maybe it's even okay that I don't know, you know what I mean? But come share. And I think when we continue to emphasize this in the community, they know these places, these resources are going to go out as part of our podcast. And so folks can easily just go out to those places and make those calls, So that's the role we play.
Oh, yes.
And to be honest with you, I'm so excited and happy that three of us got together and doing this and looking not just one aspect of life, but other things that have contributed. And we are speaking from lived experiences. We are professionals. We are mothers and aunts and all that. And we see this within our own homes, but there is one thing Father said, that we have to also look inward, especially those of us that are parents, because sometimes when we talk about our children, most of the things our children are doing is kind of reflection of how we behaved or how we handled their situation. So for parents out there, whether you're immigrant parents or Nigerian parents or any parent, again, be mindful of how you relate to these children in these regards. If they open up to you, take it as a sacred honor and honor it and call them in and talk to them even more in a more private way. Don't use the opportunity to shout at them or, like Dr. Ngozi said earlier, solve the problem. Oh, if you had done this, this wouldn't have happened. We heard that a lot. Oh, it's your fault that this is happening to you. Let us remove the fault from it because we are very, very quick to judge. Let us pay more attention to listening and listening and listening and praying to God to give us that spirit of discernment to understand what is being said and send those people to the right areas to get help.
And if your friends, your son or your children's friends come to you to talk about it, listen. And relay back to, you can reach out to the family member, in a small way and say, hey, this is what I heard from your child or something like that. We have to be careful how we relay the information. Like Father said, when your kids, when you're on the phone, we're quick to talk about other people's children, oh, how they didn't do this, they did that, they did this, and we forget that we may have us in the room there with all the issues,
And they hear our Igbo.
Yes, so we need to be careful.
Oh my God. Well, there you have it. We hope this is going to help you. Thank you, Father James, for honoring us with your presence. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. Dr. Ngozi, thank you so much. This has been amazing. And to you out there, you've heard it from these wonderful experts. The community you participate in Father James's words, is a community that will save you. Please find a community. Join a community. There is power in coming together and working together and collaborating. And if you can't find a community that you like, establish one and pull other people into it. But never, ever, ever die in silence. There are so many resources out there. And like Dr. Ngozi mentioned earlier, we will include some of those resources. And a lot of what she talked about are resources that you can find here in the Silicon Valley, Santa Clara County.
It's most Bay Area counties
Most
have the
Bay
same
Area
thing.
counties have the same program. So find out what the resources are for your community. And for us immigrants, it's not easy, we understand, to have that mental shift, but it is needed now more than ever because we don't want to continue to suffer and we don't want our children to suffer. So thank you so much for spending time with us. It's been an honor. And we do want to remind you that registration is open for our Roots and Rights Synergy Leadership Conference coming up here in San Jose, California on October 9th. If you have not registered, please do so because seats are limited. And again, we thank our community partners, the Silicon Valley African Film Festival and the African Immigrant Collective for their collaboration and support. And of course, if you would like to support us or partner with us, please reach out to us. Once again, thank you for joining us. Until we meet again, we are the Voices of Triumph. Thank you. Roots and Rights Synergy proudly presents our inaugural flagship leadership conference. Our theme this year, Drawing Strength from Your Roots, explores how your identity, culture, and lived experience can shape powerful, authentic leadership. Join a dynamic gathering of multicultural and globally diverse leaders right here in the heart of Silicon Valley. Feel the energy come to life with vibrant cultural performances, including African drumming and steel drum rhythms. Why attend? You get to hear from influential executives and trailblazers, gain practical tools to elevate your leadership, build meaningful connections with diverse professionals. Who should attend? This event is perfect for executives, entrepreneurs, mid level leaders, emerging leaders, and students who are ready to grow. Register now using the information on your screen.
For more details, visit our website, www.rootsandricesynergy.com, or call 510-493-0484. Act fast. Be one of the first 20 to register and score a free ticket to the highly acclaimed Silicon Valley African Film Festival. Don't miss out on this exclusive bonus. We proudly thank our community partners, the Silicon Valley African Film Festival and the African Immigrant Collective. Your dedication and partnership make our work possible. Rise with purpose through the Roots and Rice Synergy Conference. We hope to see you there.